I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, 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 won't you let the light shine through? In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you,
Hello everybody and welcome into PGR eSports' Intimidator Superspeedway Series, live tonight from the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, as we got another good one in store for you this week. Joining me in the booth, co-host Matt Mettler. Matt, how you feeling here tonight?
Hey, ready for round two. Here we are at Daytona, the World Center of Speed. I am fired up, ready to rock and roll tonight.
Yeah, a lot of the field is fired up as well. We got it again. Pretty stacked one. We saw a lot of action from a lot of the same drivers last night, along with Tuesday with the season championship race for Tuesday Night Thunder. And we'll continue on with some good racing here tonight. So let's jump right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole, it's going to be Kevin Freese, puts down a 50.579. Garrett Maines will roll off to his outside in second. John Ellis Jr. back in the third spot with John Mullahan from McCullough Motorsports to his outside in fourth. Then it's Joshua McCullough back in fifth. Joe Herta for the Jack Shack is in sixth. Row four, Jared Haynes alongside Brian Hennings in the 74, with Evan Carlbon in ninth. He runs alongside Landon Velicki in 10th.
Start 11th, James Wagner in that 30 machine. Outside of him, Michael Machetta in that 32 ride from Street Limit Racing. Rolling off 13, Dalton Steele going to be rocking the 41, and starting 14th going to be Ethan Eckert in the 12th. Running out your top 15, that's Braxton DeWeese in the 8 machine. 16th belongs to Steve Sizemore. Look for him to come to the front. Rolling off here 17th in the 23, that's going to be Nash Brella. 18th belongs to Aubrey Thompson. Chris Melton, who was strong last night, look for him to see if he can get a good finish here in the 49 ride. And running out your top 20 is going to be Quentin Steinbuck.
Michael Miller will start back in the 21st spot. Axel Smith to his outside in 22nd. Brock Westmoreland back in 23rd alongside series owner Michael Triscaro in 24th. Daniel Falkingham starts 25th. Francisco Villarreal 26th. Matthew Patton in 27th. Freddie Bosnez 28th. Richard Elliott 29th. And Matt Lee rounding out your top 30.
31st belongs to Tyler Vickery in the 124 machine, while Nathan Harper out of North Carolina is going to roll off here 32nd. Stephen Miles going to start 33rd, while 34th belongs to Steve Korosik. 35th, running at your top 35, that's Jeff Merck in the 13 machine. Outside of him, starting deep in the woods here, 36 belongs to Zachary Lima, newcomer.
Back in 37 tonight, it's going to be Ken McCullough Jr., Mark Vondell 38th, Jim Emos at 39, Sean Corbett rounding out your 40-car field. Brief look at the race info as we get ready to go green. 60 laps, 50% fuel, 3 sets of tires, and no fast repair. All right, pace car is going to pull off. It's been a little while since we've been to Daytona in this car. Let's find out who's going to knock the rust off and get back to victory lane tonight. Green flag is in the air. We are racing at Daytona.
Lap 1 officially in the books, and we are up to speed here at the Big House in the state of Florida under the lights. Hey, and the nighttime is the right time for some money racing as these crazy trains are rolling 2 lines deep. The 25 machine currently has a slight edge as they come out of the 1 and 2 complex, and it is a drag race down the backstretch, and this is something we're going to be seeing all night, ladies and gentlemen. Side by side, door to door, speeds approaching 200 miles an hour, and already Garrett Maines picking up right where he left off last night in that Ryko machine. I'll tell you what, Austin, he was fast and furious and would do anything and everything in that car, and I'm looking for him to put up a similar performance here this evening.
Yeah, Garrett is always a favorite when you come to these super speedways, and really last night we saw a lot of guys with a lot of aggression. Part of the reason was because we were in the Next Gen Series, but here tonight we're back in the Xfinity cars, a little bit more tame. The racing is a little bit more strategical in the sense of you can't just get a run out of nowhere. You got to really be careful with how you build them up, try to time them right, and you may only get one shot with the run that you get. So watch for teammates to try to get together throughout the early portions of this race, get through a couple pit stops, and then we'll have to go from there. Up front, though, still 2x2 as they work into the 30-plus degree banking through 3 and 4. John Mullahan leads the outside. Garrett Maines on the inside. Kevin Freeze and Joe Herta, the lead pushers right now. John Ellis Jr. in the 21 Sim Seats machine. Good to see him back in the field here tonight. Runs alongside the 74 of Brian Hennings, who looks like has a bit of a new paint scheme himself here tonight.
Yeah, great looking paint scheme on that ride here this evening. He's putting some new vibe out there on the racetrack. How about Brian Hennings in the 74, already gaining a couple spots on that scoring pylon, just outside the top 5. In fact, just as I say that, now inside the top 5. California native doing big things early here as we go on board.
Yeah, and watching. Go ahead.
Just look at how close these drivers are already. A little bit of some moderate side drafting here going on from time to time. Giving a big-time shove there coming out of the corner to the Jack Shack driver there just in front of him. There's a little bit of a hit, and as you said, Austin, last night we were in the next-gen car. It's a lot more stable under pushing, and you seen right there just that little bit of a shot, how much it kind of upset that race car. And you're going to have to be careful. You're going to have to time your pushes right. If not, that could spell disaster. Look at that lane change. That Camaro's going to go from the bottom up to the high side of the racetrack. They're already starting to dial that intensity up as we work lap 5.
And Mullahan really aggressive with that move. You saw the fire out of the pipes for about 3 or 4 cars deep on the outside line behind him there. That was the checkup that move caused. But a good job by everybody to adjust to it, stay in line, and keep this line up to speed. They're going to stay even here off of turn 4. But Matt, when I almost cut you off there about a lap ago, you pretty much hit the nail on the head right after it about just these cars, they push so different. And when we were kind of on that onboard view, what I was trying to kind of show everybody is for Brian Hennings, when he was up there trying to push Joe Herta, he's got to be so delicate with not only where he hits him on the racetrack, but also where he hits him when he does give him a push. You have got to be dead center. You get a guy offset even just a little bit. We've seen it go so wrong so many times in this car. And you just hope that doesn't happen here tonight. Third lane, though, going to get working down the super stretch. For the first time tonight, Falkingham, he took a peek outside. He had some help from, it looked like the 5 of, I believe, thought initially that might have been Matthew Baker with the way the colors were set up, but it is not. The 5 machine out here tonight, looks like got a couple new drivers. Want to make sure I get this right. Is that Freddie Bosnez? Not one of the new drivers, but it is certainly a new scheme for Bosnez here tonight. Yep, that's who it is. We take the onboard view, and that's going to be a driver that has worked with Falkingham pretty well over the last couple races. We'll see if they can go all the way to the front here.
And that's certainly what the game plan seems to be out of the 5 camp, Austin. He's already up 13 positions here early, so clearly the game plan is to get to the front, try to stay out of the mayhem, and keep that race car there over the course of this 60-lap main event tonight. As we take it back to the point, though, side-by-side drag racing here once again. And if you love that at home, folks, you're going to get a huge dose of that action here tonight at Daytona. You see the 12 once again. Beautiful lane change there. That's how it's done. He didn't hesitate. He was decisive with his decision. And Austin, you know what happens here if you hesitate. Usually that spells disaster, and that's why that driver there is a force to be reckoned with here on these plate tracks, is he makes it look so easy as well.
And as we look at the drone cam there, you can see just about the top in the third lane starting to get working. Guess who? Daniel Falkingham, and guess who's with him? Freddie Bosnez. We've seen those two, again, working together. I thought maybe they go together kind of to the front. That's exactly what they're doing. Now, can this third lane generate enough momentum? There's kind of a couple factors that could inhibit any progress that they try to make here tonight. One of them is the cooler track temp that we have. It's in the nighttime here at Daytona, and when the lights are on, the track is cool, speeds are a little bit higher, and the grip goes up. So what you got to keep an eye on is this third lane. They're going to have to stay more organized, and they're going to also have to try to push a little bit harder than the inside and middle lines if they want to get even. 190 miles an hour for Garrett Maines out of the trial. You compare that to Falkingham, 194. They are gaining. They're going to draw even with the third row as they work through turn 1 and 2.
They work through turns 1 and 2 in that Toyota leading the top shelf of the racetrack. They are starting to get more numbers on the high side. And to your point, Austin, obviously right there on that double yellow line where that 25 is, that's the shortest way around this racetrack. When you take it all the way up to the top shelf where the 54, the 5 is, they have to go that much further, which means They need to translate that to additional momentum, and they're certainly starting to get that mojo brewing right now. Big time push there from the 5 as that train's about to pull even with the middle lane now coming out of the tri-oval there as they fire off into the turns 1 and 2 complex.
And as we are now 10 of 60 laps complete, let's give you some notable updates here tonight. One of them, two of the drivers that you've probably heard their name before, and if you're wondering from where, it's because they have not been around for quite some time. But making a return here tonight is two of the previous Dale Cup drivers. Steve Karosik in the 27 machine right now has himself sitting in the 13th spot, up 21 positions from where he started this race at. And his teammate, Zachary Lima, his wingman, if you will, they're going to be working together here tonight, and for Lima, he's got a little bit of work to do, but right now finds himself also up 21 positions from where he started this race at in 15th. Those are the two drivers to watch here tonight. Now, two drivers that you don't see in the field that I want to give you an update on is Kyler Wynn and Cody Nagels. Those two were suspended for 1 week after some on-track altercations. And speaking of altercations, boy, we had a close call back here, one off track to 78. Evan Carlbon, he'll save it and jump right back up without losing any position. But again, those two are suspended. That's why you don't see them here this week. They should be able to return to regular racing next week. And then last, Malik Ray, not in the field here tonight. You might have noticed, unfortunately, had a close friend, from what I heard pre-race, pass away. So prayers are with Malik right now. We hate to hear that for him. And so make sure that you all send your prayers his way as well. We hope that we'll see him back soon, but understand he needs to take some time, and wish him and his family all the best. All right, back on track. Kevin Freese still leads the inside. Him and John Ellis Jr. have been working together for some time now. They come across the line to complete 12 of 60 laps. Falkingham's been trying, Matt, but he hasn't been able to get there just yet.
Hasn't been able to get there just yet, but he is now tied for the biggest mover of the race, up 22 positions. And he is certainly trying to get that machine to the point here. And in fact, it is fast and furious. Check that out. Big time going around to the bumper GoPro cam. You got a face full of that Chevy badge. You see the big font Camaro, and that means he is doing some business there, giving him a shot. And Austin, you see how he breaks that push there, getting into the corner, especially when that car loads up. The next-gen car, you can tell, big-time problems. Is Calamity, the big one, blows here at Talladega. This might impact half the field, if not more.
Oh, man. The huge one at Daytona here. On lap 13, they're still all trying to scatter to find a way to get around it here. A couple drivers have already paid the tow bill that don't feel like they're going to be able to go any further. And now we're trying to figure out who all is involved. We got drivers scattering down the pits. I mean, they are everywhere. And it looks like Kevin Freese, Ethan Eckert, a couple of the drivers with some notable damage. You saw John Mullahan in it. He had the tow. That was right as we hopped on the onboard view of Bosnes. I was getting ready to note that he looked like he got out of shape, but the wreck started in front of him. And so you wonder if that was maybe a reaction to that, but let's see what happens here. Go back and see if anybody up front started this, or was it... I just have no idea. We were, like I said, on the onboard view of the 5 machine.
Looked like netcode to me. Sorry to cut you off there, Austin. Looks like Huerta down into Kevin and big netcode.
We'll play it slow motion first. You heard it right there from Race Control Matthew Baker. And, ooh, right there. Oh, man, it's not much either. It's just enough to spark it. And once it gets started up, it's on from there. So we'll play this slow for you here again. We'll go to an aerial shot. Watch it from the chopper view. So you'll notice the 54 up top. Watch the 2 in the middle. Falkingham's not really moving here. John Mullahan in the middle. Is he going to drift up a little bit? Or excuse me, Joe Herta in the middle in the second lane. Does he drift up at all? Watch as they come out of the corner. The one starts to... No, the one's still not really moving. Falkingham comes down a little bit. But then, as Baker said, they never quite touch. A little bit of netcode contact maybe between those two. But then right here, as Kevin Freese is starting to slide up the racetrack, that's really where you see the worst of the netcode. I mean, we talked about there was a little bit up top, but then right here, Freeze up just a little bit to catch some air, and unfortunately he catches a whole lot of netcode instead, right off the left front of Joe Herta. That sends him around into John Mullahan, and then it's on from here. Watch this from the front end view. I mean, Matt, this feels like half the field.
You know, I was just talking about, too, right before we went to that onboard camera, you know, the ill effects of bump drafting into the corner. Obviously, that's not the culprit that lit the fuse here, but still, when things go wrong at the front of the field, it doesn't take much And, I mean, you can see for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, you set the big one off at the front. You know, those escape lanes, they plug up quick, fast, and in a hurry. And you can see cars literally scattering everywhere, trying to find a path, you will, to keep them in, you know, basically keep that race car safe and make sure they can continue on in this race. And every time I watch this replay back, I mean, my goodness, the 4 got some big-time air there. And you have cars going everywhere, going John Deere mode, high, low, you name it. Just the big one here early. We're just 14 laps into this race. So we send it up, back upstairs now to the chopper camera.
Man, I'm watching the 32. Tried to sneak through it, a little bit of damage, then starts to get spun there. Wagner, I think, sneaks through it in the 30 car without too much. See Chris Melton trying to shoot the gap. Brian Hennings, some contact late. Looks like Joshua McCullough on the apron. Evan Carlbon. I mean, you had drivers scattering everywhere to miss this one, and it looks like, at least, I'm not sure if Zachary Lima got through it. It looked like, I believe, at least Steve Korosek did, but for Lima here, trying to figure out, saw him kind of in the background there. Not sure if he ended up making contact or not. Let's hop on board with him here and see what it looked like from his point of view. This is right as it starts. Watch him and Korosek. You see Korosek go up top, some contact with Brock Westmoreland, but for Lima, I think he's okay. Does he run into Mullahan? Nope, gets on the brakes.
No.
Man, that was about as close as you can get. Nice job by Lima there to miss any further contact.
I mean, that's textbook how you do it right there. What a piece of driving there by Lima. Great situational awareness. And yeah, a lot of times it's a lot of luck that you have to have on your side, but he was able to pilot that through the chaos and the storm on the racetrack. You know, and speaking of doing that, Evan Carlbon did a great job as well, you know, parting the Red Seas and finding a way through that mess on the racetrack as well. Take a look here now from Ethan Eckert in the 12. Hard on the binders here. He's going to get a piece of it there. 2 comes sliding down the racetrack right in front of him. He's off in the grass. That car is not going to slow up.
And we went back because I know Devin Ray had mentioned in the chat that maybe Eckert had snuck through it. I thought I remember him getting some damage, and that was exactly why right there. As we go back up front now, lights are off on the pace cars. Ooh, got one blinking out up front. That's John Ellis Jr. He'll try to get that sorted out as 15 of 60 laps complete. And up front, John Ellis Jr. is leading the way. Garrett Mainstay is outside in second with Landon Veliky in third. By the way, Landon Veliky, he has finished on the podium before in PGR and actually has officially got his first... Oh, go ahead.
And he's also got his first race win, too.
That's what I was getting ready to say. It was the one race that I got to miss, and Landon made sure to give me a hard time about it. But we'll see if we can maybe get him up here later on in this race if we get another caution break. But 62 of Veliky looking to see if he can get a win on a Thursday night PGR race now that he's got one official. It was on Wednesday, or excuse me, a Tuesday, and he's got a podium here on Thursday as well. All right, so looking at the fuel window, Baker, as we get ready to go back green, what do we think?
Fuel window's looking like it's around 20 laps, so from that stop right there, looking at around lap 35 for these stops here.
Sounds pretty good. All right, here we go. Green flag back in the air. It's going to be 16 of 60 laps complete at the World Center of Racing, as it's a good restart for the 21 of John Ellis Jr. A lot more help on the bottom right now. Garrett Maines is at the mercy of Steve Korosek. He needs him to get up here and give him a big push, and he'll finally get there right as they enter turn number 1. The 74, Brian Hennings, just behind. He's looking to set up a run as well. Landon Veliky tucked in on the back bumper of John Ellis Jr. Can he find a way to get himself clear and jump up off of turn 2? It was a big push, but not quite enough, and now they work down the super stretch 2x2.
Down the super stretch 2x2 and the big time pushing going on in the bottom lane. The 62 literally welded to the bumper of the 21 here. Landon Veliky doing all of the work, and they're going to surge ahead coming out of the turns 1 and 2 complex, or excuse me, 3 and 4 complex. And check out that outside lane as well. They are staying right there with them as we come through the Geico restart zone. The 21, John Ellis, is going to get credit for leading that lap at the line. And how about that driver, Austin, in that 4th place position? Steve Korosek up not 10, not 20, 30 positions. This guy started in the next county over, and he is already inside the money in the top 3 right now. What a drive in the early going. You know what? Take that back. He is now up to P2. This guy is moving.
Yeah, he's flying. And I think one of the things that's interesting here is we actually saw Steve running to the back of Brock Westmoreland. And looking kind of at the views here, Brock had quite a bit of damage in the back, unless I missed something on the replay. But Steve doesn't look like he's really got much.
Not at all. It looked like he lost the hood whenever I was watching the replay. I don't know how he got back on there that quick. Looked like he didn't take any front-end damage at all. So, lucky break for Steve Korsak there.
Yeah, a big break indeed. And man, look at this. He's going to try to go for the lead here with a push from Brian Hennings up top. Looks like the 8. Trying to make something happen here. Got to be careful. Matthew Patton, he's going to get hung out to dry. The 34 series owner. Michael Trasquero shoots the middle. Here comes Zachary Lima. Jared Haynes on the bottom as well. Now starting to work his way towards the front of the field. Jeffrey Merck going to pick up the 8. Now he'll jump down to the middle and pick up a push from Falkingham. And there's the 24, Stephen Miles on the inside as well. Another one of the Nightmare Esports entries. It's trying to hold down the fort here tonight with the absence of one of the drivers, Cody Nagels, that works with that team.
You're right. Cody Nagel's not out there here this evening. However, these other drivers, they're doing everything they can right now to put themselves in position to win here at Daytona under the lights. Oh, you seen that push almost gone wrong there. That car got a little bit out of shape on the outside lane. Garrett Maines, I believe that's on the high side of the racetrack there. How about Steve in that 27? I know I talked about him moments ago, but this drive from him is absolutely incredible here in the opening phases of this race, all the way up to that second place position. And just as I say that now, Garrett Maines in the 38, he takes over that second place. Now Brian Hennings and Landon Velick, John Ellis round out the top 5 as they fire down the backstretch.
And for Steve, this is the first real opportunity that he's kind of had in this car to get pushed out in front. This is where you start to get a little uncomfortable for the first time, but doesn't look like he's having any issues right now. Garrett Maines squares him up with a really nice push down the short chute towards turn 1. And the 27 will poke a car length right back out in front here. The outside being led by the 74, Brian Hennings. He has shown quite a bit of aggression himself here tonight. You like to see that from Brian because it's paying off. He kind of showed a little bit of a hint of that in the next gen race the other night. Threw a little bit of an aggressive block. Didn't pay off there, but may have learned a little something because he's got himself in very good position here before even being at the halfway point in this race here tonight. As, they go by one of the lappers. Whoa, man.
Whoa.
That was close to 32. Trying to keep it down low, and he got 2 wheels on the racetrack, and I thought that was maybe going to be our second caution of the night.
Yeah, I got worried there. I had shades of Kevin LePage. Not that you ever want to see that happen, but that's what flashed through my mind when I seen that car way off the pace, just able to escape. I thought there was going to possibly be some contact there, but not the case as that 32 continues to charge on without any help out there on the racetrack. You certainly need a battle buddy, and we go back on board, send it up to the point, on board with the 74 of Brian Hennings, looking back at that beautiful paint scheme on that TRD-powered Supra. That's Landon Velick in close proximity here. However, here we go, Austin. They're going to try to get that third lane going here once again. 3 cars on the top shelf of the racetrack. Let's see if they can get some momentum to get up there and challenge for the lead. We haven't seen it yet. However, they've made a couple attempts tonight to get that third lane going. They just don't have the numbers right now at the moment, as they're only about 3 on the high side of the racetrack.
Yeah, but they're still making just a little bit of progress. Not sure if the middle line's trying to cool up front or what's going on, but Michael Trasquero holding even. Now he's going to make a little bit of another surge if Jeff Merck can get on his back bumper. Nothing doing yet. Lima still in the middle, not going to go to the high side with these two. Joshua McCullough's up top, but he's not able to get there right now either. Jeff Merck got a little closer there. Bit of a push into turn 3. That sends the 34 up even now with the 30 of James Wagner. Can he get even with the 62 of Velick? I don't know, but either way, Matt, all this pushing by the third lane starting to stall out the middle and up front. Steve Korsak, he still looks well in control with 23 laps complete.
He certainly does, and he has done it. He has come all the way from the back to the front and now commands this field, carries the torch here, but that 12 may have something to say about it. Another big-time move from the bottom up to the top lane on the racetrack. Shades of what he was doing so well last night. The 74, he puts his hand out the wheel, give me a shot, buddy, and he sends that Ryko 12 back to the lead, working that second lane. Does he clear it out of the bottom? Yes, he does. We got problems. Austin, I can't believe it. I thought that was going to be wreck number 2, and you see what happens there. When you have a checkup like that, all that energy has to go somewhere, and you can see really the effects of that a little back deeper in the field, right around that 24th place position.
Yeah, I was
We
going to
go ahead
say
and wind this back.
that should have been wreck number 2. I mean, these guys did everything but right here, and this was right as they went by Joe Herta, so I'm wondering if that was part of it. Let's go to the rear chase here first. And watch as they go by the 1. Does something happen here? Was somebody in line? You see Steve on the bottom. Yeah, Brian Hennings gave a phenomenal push to Garrett Maines, by the way, to get them by. And right here, let's see what happens. Ooh, a little bit of, was that, well, there's a little bit of contact there, but it's almost like there's more contact further back. It's kind of separate from this contact. Watch Jared Haynes here in the 7. That's where the contact that I saw at least kind of be the most significant was, and maybe some contact between him and James Wagner sends the 7 onto the apron, and for the Jack Shack driver, Jared Haynes, this is a pretty wicked save himself, especially when Stephen Miles hits him right there in the back. That usually sends a car around, but Jared Haynes, phenomenal save. And then further back, as you mentioned, Matt, all that energy's got to go somewhere, and it ends up on the front bumper of both Steve Sizemore and Nash Brambilla. But they all save it as you see Tyler Vickery jump down in front of them, and so they all continue on without issue.
Masterful job by these drivers once again tonight, keeping these race cars lean, mean, and green out there on the racetrack. Basically 2 groups of race cars out there right now. And go on board here with Westmoreland here in the 4 machine. He's currently just inside the top 20. He commands that 20th place position, getting a big-time push behind him, though. And you can see just how much faster he is than these cars just in front of him.
And I'm watching the onboard view here of a couple of them. Joshua McCullough working with his teammate Mark Vondell. Those two sitting 17th and 18th. And right now they are 1 second off the back bumper of Dalton Steele, the last car of this lead group. So they should be okay. I think they'll catch up. And bridge on Axel Smith, just 2 seconds back. So he's actually just outside of the draft. And he's getting tracked down quickly by Tyler Vickery and company, who's about 3 seconds outside of that. Well, I guess I should say 3 seconds back from the lead group, which realistically puts him about 1.5 seconds out of draft range. So if they can find a way to get organized here quick enough, Matt, to go up there and grab that draft, they got a chance, but they're going to have to do it really, really soon. They want to make something happen. And look at some of the other drivers you got up here. I did see, you kind of noticed they're a little bit of a different looking paint scheme. We'll show you from the rear chase view here for one of the McCullough Motorsports entries. And guess who? Aubrey Thompson. Can't say I necessarily saw that one coming, but Aubrey Thompson looks like he has joined up with McCullough Motorsports, and that's a good pickup for that team and a strong driver at that. You wonder if Richard Elliott, any idea if he joined as well?
I think he's got an alliance still with Aubrey. Still runs on his own, but he definitely tries to help out Aubrey anytime he's on the track. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the Discord. It doesn't look like I see him here in the channel with him, though.
All right.
Oh, I take that bet. He actually is in the channel with him.
There you go.
So, looks like he's on McCullough Motorsports. Another new paint scheme out there, Matt Lee. They made the change from Martin Sports to Icon Apparel. Their new website's going to be coming up, and he's got a new paint on that car. It looks really good.
That it does. And for Matt Lee in the 04, it's always been one of the veteran drivers of the series, but I believe also making a team switch as a recent back over to NBG Motorsports. So we'll have to see how that works out for the 04. But here tonight, right now, in good position, up 19 spots from where he started this race. And, I mean, fellas, do I dare say this race has looked really, really clean and kind of calm from what we've seen over the last couple weeks?
You're absolutely right, Austin. I mean, last night from the drop of heat race 1, it was turned up to 1,000 out there on the racetrack. I know I was having to literally scrape myself off the broadcast floor from time to time over the night. But tonight, a little bit of a different vibe. These drivers understand, hey, I got to go the distance. I got to make my car last 60 laps out there. And if I'm beating and bagging, tearing it up, I'm not going to be able to get the job done. And on the other side of that, we've seen some great saves out there on the racetrack already a couple of times tonight. Outside of that one yellow flag we had for incident early here in this race, it has been an absolute, just a masterpiece from these drivers here. Doing what they do best out here on the racetrack. Taking a peek here at the 32s. We send it back up to the point now. Garrett Maines in control in that 12 machine. Right behind him, he got the 21. John Ellis there as well. Brian Hennings, and look who's inside the top 5. The HMFIC of PGR, Michael Trascaro, up 19 positions, Austin.
Indeed, Michael Trascaro, he's still hungry, looking for that first win. I saw a couple of people joking in the chat, maybe that first one comes at the PGR 500. I know he'd like to see that, but you know, at the same time, he really wants to get one before then, so we'll see. Michael Trascaro, he was feeling pretty good here tonight. We'll have to see if it's his night as they work off of turn 2. We are now officially at the halfway point of this race. And I do want to also look at here, kind of go back through some of the drivers that we saw start the race but are either out or had some issues. Sean Corbett has retired. John Mullahan, Freddie Bosnez, and Quentin Steinbach, who still sits in the pits, all involved in an early incident that has taken them out of the race. Michael Menchaca multiple laps down. Joe Herta still has major front end damage on the hood of his car, so he is also at least one. I believe he's a couple down, maybe only one at the moment. Kevin Freese trying to hang on here. He needs a caution. Then it's Nathan Harper back in at 33rd right now in the 35 machine. Evan Carlbon 32nd. You've got Ethan Eckert up in 31st. Braxton Deweese is in 30th with Jimmy Emos in 29th. Axel Smith in 28th. Ashburn Villa 27th. Francisco Villarreal is in 26th in the 24 machine. You've got Steve Sizemore 25th. Michael Miller 24th. Brock Westmoreland's in 23rd. Tyler Vickery 22nd. With Richard Elliott 21st, Ken McCullough Jr. and Aubrey Thompson, the two cars that are leading this second group. The two cars that caught up to that front group, Mark Vondell, Joshua McCullough, have now blended in with Stephen Miles, Dalton Steele, Falkingham, and all the rest of the leaders that continue to run around this 2.5-mile super speedway at over 190 miles an hour, as I believe that we are about 3 or 4 laps away from the first round of green flag pit stops.
You just stole the words right out of my mouth, Austin. Pit stops looming here, perhaps under green flag conditions. Another phase we're going to have to see these drivers attack pit road. You cannot relax here for a moment, especially when the intensity and the quality of driver out there on the racetrack is this good here at Daytona this evening. And you see it here, folks, 2x2, side by side up here at the front. And Steve is just doing things tonight in that snap-on Camaro. I mean, he took it. I said it earlier in the race, but I'm going to say it again. He took it from the back. He put the hammer down. He got up on the wheel, made some big-time moves, and he now leads here. And Austin doing a pretty good job of it. He's got a great dance partner right behind him there. Garrett Maines, who's even with the board, started second, currently runs in that second-place position. And then you got to go back about 3 or 4 spots, and then you have that high side. Well, their numbers are limited up there, and just as I say that, Maines is going to go to the top shelf. He's going to get a big-time push there from the 74, and let's see if these guys can now...
Well, what a move.
Are you kidding me?
What a pass by Garrett. I mean, that's about as textbook as you can set it up. If you're going to make that jump to the outside this close to pit stops, the plan is you think you're going to have enough momentum and enough of a run to get clear of the guy you're trying to pass, and Garrett Maines did just that. And you see Steve here, he's not going to jump out, at least not yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays where he is, because again, we're only a couple laps away, I believe, here.
Oh, they're coming in a couple laps for sure. I think Ethan Eckert, that second pack, they're going to be coming this next time by. We'll see what this front pack does. You see him single filing out. They only got 3 on the top side, but this bottom side single filed all the way out.
And that second group, by the way, is still, looks like, just over 4 seconds back, so they're not going to catch. They're going to have to try something, but let's see if anybody decides to bring it in this time or not. It would be right at about that 20-lap window that you told us about, Baker, when we got the green flag back in the air. And so here we go as they work off turn 4. Let's see, does Garrett bring anybody down here, or do they all stay out? Looks like up front in that group, everybody will stay out. Don't see anybody peel off. And then trying to watch for that group out back. Do they make a move to the pits this time? They will not. They're going to stay out, run as long as they can. And really now, it's kind of all in the hands of the first group of when they want to pit. But, I mean, I look on the outside here, and for the 74 of Headings, the 30 of Wagner, and the 49 of Melton, they either are going to have to get down or try to find a way to pit from the outside.
Yeah, pitting from the outside is extremely dangerous. I certainly wouldn't recommend that course of action, but you're absolutely right, Austin. Typically, plate racing, especially here at Daytona, you're going to look for those drivers that have, are running single file at the bottom. That's usually the first telltale sign, that pit stops are coming. Typically, we see the intensity, back off just a little bit as well. Here we go. The first wave coming down. The flames flying out of the tailpipe. Going to jump hard on the binders here. No mistakes. Oh, a little bit of contact there. 3 wide, 4 wide as we got drivers entering their pit box. Service getting ready to start on these race cars here.
Second group all brings it down just as clean as the first group did. That's an interesting call. I think it's a good call. It's kind of their best shot here. They're going to have to get organized really, really quickly. That's their only shot at it working out. We'll have to see. That's going to hand the lead over now to a couple of drivers who have not chosen to pit yet. At least it appears that they haven't at the moment. Francisco Villarreal, Chris Melton still out on the racetrack. And here comes Garrett Maines. He will win the race out of the pits, followed by John Ellis Jr., then Landon Veliky, Jeff Merck side by side. Someone's going to have to give it here. And it looks like Landon will give way to Jeff Merck. Now they all go through the flat turn 1 and 2 apron to try to get back up to speed. Here comes Falkingham to the aid of his teammate. Once they get linked together, I think they'll all be able to catch right back up and try to make something happen. Look at this long single file group. I mean, this goes back at least 20 cars deep, maybe a couple more depending on if Tyler Vickery and a few others can tag on. And I mean, even looking back further than that, I think a couple of the drivers from that second group may have actually tagged onto this front group once everybody gets back together.
Yeah, that was my take on it as well here as we go back to pit road. Now there's the 49 currently getting the service to 24 down and away. See some flames there popping out of his tailpipe. He sent it back out onto the racetrack, and no surprise, Garrett Maines. He's going to cycle back to the point. Look out.
Veliky had a big moment right there down the short chute. He was all sorts of out of shape, but he was able to save it. And I don't know if it was the move or if they've just decided to single this out, but they're going to quickly line up, and it looks like they have the opportunity here to potentially set up for about a 10 to 15 car breakaway if they get organized soon enough.
Yeah, 10 to 15 car breakaway, and Austin, you hit the nail on the head. You want to get organized. You want to get all that momentum built up as quickly, as soon as you possibly can, just like what we're seeing now out here on the racetrack, at least from this lead back. Garrett Maines, Landon Veliky, John Ellis, Jeff Mark, who's up 31 positions. I see you, bud. The head cook, chief, and bottle washer, Michael Triscaro, he's up 19. And that's your top 5 as they currently run right now. Brandon Hennings, Daniel Falkingham, James Wagner, Joshua McCullough, and Stephen Miles. They round out the top 10. And these guys, Austin, did a phenomenal job executing on pit road. I mean, they had the numbers. I mean, the last thing you want to do is when you pit here at a super speedway, as we go on board with Merck, you want to come down pit road. You want to have a battle buddy. You want to have a dancing partner. And these guys had a convoy of race cars. I mean, to your point, you said north of 20 cars out there, going through that pit sequence together as we jump on board with Jeff Merck as he owns that 4th place position out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, I know some people want to argue that, NASCAR, stock car racing isn't a team sport. And I may see some tracks where I could understand the argument, but at super speedways, that's not valid. I mean, it's all about teamwork. You got to have people with you, especially, as you noted, Matt, during the pit stops. You got to have tandem partners, everything in between. And if you don't have any teammates, you can still make it work, but it's really difficult because you got to try to be kind of the odd man out that tries to sit with the friend group at lunch that you don't really know. And right now, everybody in this front group, I can promise you, if they don't have a teammate, they are already trying to make deals with somebody. For Jeff Merck, it's Michael Triscaro, John Ellis Jr. I have a feeling he's working with Garrett Maines here tonight. Veliky and Falkingham, that's a pair. Brian Hennings going to be looking for any of his PGR eSports teammates. Not sure if he's got any up here right now, as it looks like they're going to add on one more to the back. That is one of the lap cars. I believe it's Jimmy Emos. And ran right now. I mean, 21 laps to go. We are still green. These guys have been looking very, very sharp here tonight.
Certainly, and in fact, from the drop of the green flag, as Garrett Maines continues to carry the torch here, he scored P1 here on the scoring pylon at the Big House in Daytona under the lights in prime time. In Austin, I think we're seeing shades of last night right here. We're getting deeper into this race right now. You see the intensity dialing back. These drivers probably trying to bleed some of these laps down. And once we probably get under 5 to go, we're going to start to see that intensity crank back up again as Garrett Maines continues to lead here, coming up on a lap car going to the high side of the racetrack. That damaged Toyota Supra just has not been his night this evening as he continues to keep it on the racetrack.
Caution. Not sure for exactly what here. We're trying to figure it out right now. Was it something with Chris Melton here? I don't know. See, Melton in the 49, does he have any damage? No?
Looks like it's towards the second portion of the pack.
Okay. We'll have to see if we can
go back to Matthew Patton. He's really going at it right now, so I'm about to take a look. I was in the sky cam, so I just saw a bunch of ants wrecking.
Matthew Patton. Definitely some damage on the right front of that race car. And a caution with 20 laps to go is certainly going to change the dynamic of this race. Everybody will top off on fuel, be good to go the rest of the way. And for Patton, you wonder how this happened. Let's go back and take a look, see if we can figure it out. This is, oh, him in the 97. That's where this is going to start here. So this is going off into turn 1. Mentioned that this was a second group. They may have been kind of catching another group at the same time. Yeah, it looks like that's at least part of it here. They're going to jump out of line, try to make a move down the backstretch. That's where things are going to start to go south. Watches the 97 up top. He's got a bit of a run. That's Axel Smith. And then the 24, Francisco Villarreal, lines up behind him. Going to try to give him just a little bit of a friendly shove right here. You just got to be careful in the corners. But really, I don't know. It doesn't look to me like Francisco actually ever hits him right here. It almost looks like the 97 just gets out of shape, unless I missed something here. Right here, no contact, no contact. And 97 just goes up into the wall. I'm not sure if he had some sort of technical issue or what. But then once he gets into the wall, comes back down, gets into Villarreal. That sends Villarreal down. And then he comes back up, clobbers the outside safer barrier. And it's not done there. You see the 8 of Ken McCullough Jr. He's getting turned up the racetrack. Was he able to save it here? It's like, I think Ken holds on. Yes, he does. But the 8 machine of Matthew Patton, he does go into the wall. I think it's really going to be Francisco Villarreal that gets the worst damage in this one, though.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy that got the end of the ugly stick on the receiving end on that deal for certain. And, you know, you said it time and time again tonight, Austin. It's all about how you time these pushes up. And I think there was a little bit of contact there when the 97 goes up and cheese graters that safer barrier. I think there was a very slight offset push that perhaps kicked this thing off. I could be wrong, but as you go ahead and play this back, I think it was just some light incidental contact there as we go on board now with the 97.
I don't know, man. Yeah, you might be right, but that's just such a weird look. The way that car goes up into the outside safer barrier. I mean, there's no push there, no push there, no push there.
There.
I'm thinking right here maybe, but we'll go back to the chopper view again. It almost looked like he may have initially been in the wall at this point, and maybe not. Watch it slow. Okay, well, he was already getting up the track right there, so here we go. Right here, the car's set. It's not offset yet. Does Francisco get him right there? I don't think he's making contact, but it's just too close to tell. And either way... Right. Oh, watch out. Nope, I don't see it, Matt. I don't think he touches him. That's just an odd incident. I don't know what it is, but that's a tough break. And then as he goes around, it's on from there. But boy, again, lucky that didn't collect more than it did, with it really only taking out one car, and that was Francisco Villarreal. But a tough break for Villarreal. You know, I always feel for Francisco. I mean, he's an extremely talented driver, not just on super speedways, but man, he gets a lot of bad luck in these races. If he catches a break, he's okay, but just can't seem to catch one right here, as once he goes down, gets clipped back up and hard into the outside wall. That's a big hit right there for the 24 machine.
Yeah, sometimes you got to be able to catch a break, and you have to have lady luck on your side as well. You know, sometimes when you have that dark voodoo cloud just plagued over your race car, you know, as good as you can, the driver inside the cockpit, to your point, you have to have some things go your way, you know, on these restrictor plate, these super speedway, racing out there on the racetrack. You got to have some luck on your side. You got to have some mojo. And unfortunately, the only thing he caught there was a car to the face, unfortunately. And you're right, Austin, that certainly could have been a lot bigger. We could have certainly seen more cars involved there. However, it was minimal. We re-rack them, restack them here as those lights go off on that iRacing.com pace car, and we are going to have a dash here to the finish. Buckle up, strap yourselves back in, folks. It's about to get rowdy here at Daytona.
And up front, leading the way right now, is the 5 of Zachary Lima. Garrett Rains is outside second. Landon Velicky, John Ellis Jr. back in row 2. Jeff Merck and Daniel Falkingham in row 3. As it looks like Michael Triscaro has just hopped in the onboard view. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that the rest of the way, as Michael Triscaro, as it stands right now, looks like has himself sitting back in the 27th spot. Boy, he's going to have some work to do. Might be looking at that driver cam a few times here, trying to watch his ride to the front of the field. As in the chat, looks like Vince said, happy birthday, Austin. It is not my birthday. I think Vince, I'm not sure if Vince has been drinking a little bit or if you guys are just messing with me, but that will not be until later January. either way. Nonetheless, as we get ready to get back to green flag racing here, it's been a fun one so far, Matt, but I mean, that caution, usually that tends to change the dynamic a bit, and I don't know, I think the aggression's getting ready to be more than we've seen for the entire night.
Oh, we're about to send the excitometer through the stratosphere. You know, take what we were talking about, you know, before this caution, crumble it up, throw those nouts out the window. This truly changes everything. And to your point, this race is going to take on a whole new look as the intensity is about to go to 1,000. That iRacing.com pace car pulls off into the Geico restart zone. Green flag in the air, and Lima is going to stand on it, climb back through the H pattern. Let's see what this Red Bull rocket can do as Garrett Maines, he's going to try to attack up on the high side of the racetrack as we're getting back up to speed here at Daytona.
Back up to speed and climbing the banking for the first time on this restart. Again, 16 laps to go. That's enough time to get to the front, but not enough time to piss around in the process of doing it. Back to the high side. Here goes Landon Veliky. Zachary Lima, his first time at the front of the field here tonight, so he'll have to do what his teammate did earlier, and that is get comfortable. Being uncomfortable is, whoa, man. Big move down to the inside. Veliky did the kind of up and over move on him. That was a great clear, but man, that was a really, really sketchy situation there coming down the backstretch.
Big time sketchy situation, and in fact we already had two big moves from the drop of the green flag. The 62 shades of Garrett Maines earlier in the race, and then you see that other move just from that second or third row back here as we are now back up to speed. I can see again they're trying to get that third lane going around the top of the fishbowl there. That looks to be back there right around that 17th or 18th place position on the racetrack. We'll monitor that situation, see if they can get some more numbers. But right now, it is a 2x2 side-by-side boring affair here at the front. You can see that push coming to the back of that Rayco 12 machine. That's going to put them out just about a car length. However, that lead is going to be gobbled up here from that surge on the inside lane. Now the 62 leads as we fire down the super backstretch.
And I'm watching Braxton DeWeese here as they're getting ready to cross the line in the 13. I haven't had a chance to call his name too much here tonight, but I know normally he is one of the fan favorites, and he's just been kind of hanging low, not trying to do too much yet, but he knows now that it's crunch time. It's time to go to the front. Ooh, caution. Trouble further back. Whoa, we got three of them around right here in this camera view. How many more got involved in this here? As it looks like Matthew Pattenbrock, Westmoreland, and was it, or excuse me, no, it was Ken McCullough Jr., and man, big damage for the 59 of Mark Vondell. That's the car that got the worst of it right now. And you see pieces flying off. The virtual AMR safety crew going to have to come out and pick that up before we get back to green flag racing. Let's see what sparks this one here as it's going to be coming out of the tri-oval. There's the 59 of Vondell just behind the 41 of Dalton Steele doing the pushing. And is it just going to be a little bit of a run here that leads into a push gone wrong? Watch Steele. It's just, again, slight contact where he's just going to move up a little bit here. So you see Mark's in the middle. The 41's got to run. He's going to try to go up top, I believe. And he just misjudges it a little bit. And as he's moving up, he just clips Mark Vondell on the right rear of the bumper. That sends Vondell down the track into the 77 of Michael Miller. And then back up the track goes the 59 of Vondell. He gets into Steele, and it's on from there. This one starts collecting quite a few of them as everybody scatters to miss it.
Yeah, we're only going to get lucky so many times here before more cars are going to be caught up in these incidences, especially just off a restart when everyone is stacked up on top of each other. And unfortunately, I mean, that car is ready for the scrapyard. I mean, watch this hit he takes. Boom, right there. You see the front of that race car bounce up in the air. I mean, I seen someone's hood go flying into the over the catch fence. I mean, that's how hard some of these cars took a shot here.
Yeah, and right here, Michael Miller, I thought escaped it initially, but you can see from that secondary angle, unfortunately, he did not. The 41 spinning the 8. Ken McCullough Jr. is going to get oh man, he took a big hit from Brock Westmoreland. You saw it lift the back end of his Chevy Camaro up in the air. And it's just nowhere to go. Everybody trying to figure out how to miss it. Sometimes it's kind of like a deer in the headlights. You think that you're going to dodge it. Next thing you know, the car kind of bobs left, bobs right, and then you just lock it up. And it's a tough break for a lot of drivers. But as you mentioned, Matt, Mark Vondell, the worst of it, that thing is ready for the junkyard. And he's going to actually run over some debris, although it didn't really matter at that point. Watch this hit one more time for Mark Vondell as he goes down. And that inside wall, it comes up in a hurry when you point it directly to it. And that's a big hit for Mark Vondell. And what brings out, I believe, just your second or third caution for incident here tonight. But these late cautions can have a tendency to start to breed more cautions, and we're running out of laps in this race. That can start to really put the pressure on the guys that are still hanging towards the back.
Well, that's just it. Cautions breed cautions, to your point, and that dials up the intensity. That starts to build the anxiety inside the cockpit of these race cars. Drivers start to lose their patience. You know, things start to boil down, and to your point, that can certainly lead to additional extracurricular activities out there on the racetrack, as we're now currently working lap 49 of the scheduled 60 here from Daytona International Speedway. Up at the front, it has been a master class of drivers out there putting on a show. Garrett Maines, Landon Veliky, John Ellis, Zachary Lima, and Daniel Folkingham round out the top 5. And these drivers here up at the front, I mean, they have been on it from the drop of the green flag, being aggressive at times to get their cars in position. And now it's all about these drivers. What can they do in these final 10 laps, Austin, you know, to put themselves in position to go out there and get a W? Or are we going to have more mayhem on the racetrack to contend with? You know, only time will tell, but I'll tell you what, you're going to find out if you stick with us right here on PGR, as we have coverage here until the end of this thing.
Yeah, and it is going to be a thriller all the way to the finish. That is for sure. A couple announcements to make here regarding PGR. First and foremost, the big news, the PGR 500 has officially been announced. We are gearing up, setting everything up for it each and every day in the lead up to it, but signups are out. Go get yourself signed up today, $30 entry fee. And how about this? Listen to this, Matt. This caught me off guard. I didn't even realize it was this much. The winner of the race, $1,750, along with the Mini Earl J Trophy. And also, I think there might have been something else on top of it, but payouts go all the way back to the 30th position. If you make a top 10 spot, I mean, you're making the figures are ridiculous, the payouts for that race, especially when you consider it's only a $30 entry. But you can't forget about the fact that you've got heat races you can win money in, you've got LCQs you can win money in, the duels I think are 100 each to win money for, all sorts of ways to win money. It's going to be a big event, biggest sim racing event of the year. We're excited for it, and I'm hoping to potentially race in it. And then also the PGR Light Series will be starting up on Monday, still figuring out how the broadcast setup will look for that. But if you are a driver that is not on the list in the PGR Discord, then that means you are eligible to run in the PGR Light Series. That will start on Monday, run for I believe it's 8 weeks at a variety of super speedway tracks designed to help some of the names that maybe don't get the payout spots as much to have a chance at it. And that is also a big payout series. Make sure you go check that out. Going to try to potentially run that as well. Hope to see some of the fellow drivers that we see here tonight out on the racetrack, as we're going to be coming to 10 laps to go. But, man, Matt, I know I spoke on the PGR 500. You're supposed to be joining us at some point in the booth for that. That's going to be a crazy but very exciting event.
If it's anything like we have seen tonight or during my time up here in the booth with you on the PGR side of things, it is going to be an absolute high-octane thrill ride. And, you know, to your point, Austin, you know, you have multiple chances to win and win big over the course of that event. You said last chance qualifiers. You have your heat races. You know, paying out positions is, you know, inside the, you know, I believe you said the top 30. So you got to be in it to win it. And the best way to do it is put yourself out there on the racetrack as we get ready to rock and roll here late in this one into the Geico restart zone. Garrett Maines going to lead them to the green flag here as we climb up the gearbox. He kind of went late there in the restart zone trying to catch some of these guys on the snooze button. Not the case, though. These drivers were ready for it. And check out these front 3 drivers. They are smothered and covered. Noah's Ark situation. You could pitch a tent over these guys. That's how hard they are, packed on top of each other. Big time move from Garrett Maines. He goes from the bottom to the high side of the racetrack. That's where the momentum is right now.
Big time moves indeed, and they're just going to keep getting bigger as each lap goes by and the intensity starts to pick up more and more. But man, right now it's all about trying to set yourself up in good position for when you've got to make that move to try to win the race. 2x2 up front, but they're starting to fan out 3 wide further back as they work off at turn 4. See the 13 of Aubrey Thompson looking to the high side with some help from Richard Elliott and Joshua McCullough. Steve Korosek going to jump up in front of that trio. He's going to look for a big run as 9 to go. Watch out. Up front, one around. Garrett Maines, he's going to collect a bunch of them. Caution back out as they're wrecking on the apron down the short chute to turn 1. Trying to see all the drivers that are involved in this, but they are everywhere. Braxton DeWeese is in it. And that's not all. We have got a bunch of them collected in this. And, they're still wrecking over here in turn 1.
Just when you thought it was over, it got ugly again for the 8 as he got hooked, shoved right back up into traffic and took another additional shot there right on the driver's side door of that 8 machine.
Ooh.
And I don't know about you, Austin, but I counted about 8 or 9 hoods flying like confetti into the air during the heat of that one. Ooh, got a car there crab walking. That is not drift mode. I mean, he is trying to drive that thing straight. And that Mustang is at a 45-degree angle. That is not a good situation there. And I believe that is the 32 machine currently being scored back in that 36th place position. But he has a lot bigger problem, Austin. That car is hurt bad.
Yeah, it looks cool for show. I mean, it looks like he's doing a little bit of drifting, but that's because that rear suspension is not completely out of line. And so for the 13, bad news there. DeWeese is going to bring his chances of fighting for a win to an end here tonight as he'll take it to the pits. But unfortunately, that's not going to be enough to get that damage fixed with just 8 laps to go. So let's go back and look at what sparks this one here. First up from the chopper view, watch out here up top. They're 3 wide, but the incident actually happens up front with Garrett. Garrett's going to be the first car to get turned. He's getting pushed here by Landon Velicki when he first gets hooked. And so we'll go back up here to Garrett and watch this. All right, so you've got Garrett in the 12. Velicki's pushing in the trial. A little bit of a sketchy spot to do it, but Garrett, one of the drivers that can take pushes pretty well. Unfortunately, right as they're working out of the trial, well, that's where the cars unload a little bit, and that's the risk you run. You're pushing here a little bit offset right, not much, but just enough to get Garrett turned slightly to the left. And with as close as they're running, I mean, nowhere for Garrett to really go to save it. Runs into Falkingham. Now he's just getting run over at this point as everybody's going to start to scatter to try to save it. And it starts collecting him on from there. Look at those big hits. DeWeese and Hennings plowed in there with nowhere to go. Man, another big hit right there for the 8. Ken McCullough Jr., Garrett Maines was able to make it back out on track. I don't think he actually got too much damage, all things considered. But for Braxton DeWeese, that was a brutal one.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I mean, it started off with from a light push, as you said there. That car really unloads there in that sector of the racetrack. But then he ended up getting stuffed like a Thanksgiving turkey as no one's lifting, especially this late in the race. He keeps his foot in it. That Ryko machine gets used and abused. And he goes helicopter mode. Multiple cars going to get, impacted here. And I mean, this was just big time impact after impact, big time names out there caught up in this race or this incident, excuse me. Yes, obviously we're racing right now on the racetrack. The 62 almost goes up and over. Like you said, Austin, we could be in for more cautions as they breed cautions, and we're seeing that to the fullest extent here right now. There's another big-time incident literally kicked off at the front of this thing.
Yeah, and it just continues to basically just tick off laps. That's all it's really doing. And if you're at the front, you're okay with that. If you're at the back, you're not. As I do want to look at one of the onboard views here that we had. This was Tyler Vickery. Watch his view through this. He's going to see a little puff of smoke. Start seeing him scatter everywhere. And whoa, man, did he have a pretty crazy angle through that. Got on the brakes. Had to bob and weave through a couple of them. But a really nice piece of driving right there. And then at the end, oh my goodness. You never can relax when you're trying to drive through a wreck here at Daytona. But Tyler Vickery escapes a close call on that one. And he will continue on here with a chance to win with 7 laps to go currently. Back up front, John Ellis Jr. being scored as your leader. Daniel Falkingham currently second with Matt Lee back in third. Zachary Lima fourth. Jeff Merck rounds out your top 5. Stephen Miles, Nashburn Billa, Steve Korosek, Richard Elliott, and Tyler Vickery all round out your top 10.
That's the top 10 as they currently run right now under caution here at Daytona late. Lights should be going on or going off on that iRacing.com pace car this time by. As we cross the start and finish line, there those lights go out, and here we get ready to go back. Green flag racing next time by. Going to be an old school Friday night shootout here. Last chance qualifier style, if you will, as this field now gets racked, stacked, ready to rock and roll here once again.
And as we get ready to go back green, first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody watching here tonight, whether you're just tuning in or you've been sticking around. 48 viewers live right now. That's a lot. We appreciate it. Believe me when I tell you that. This goes for me, Matt, and anybody else up here in the booth. The more viewers we get, the more excited it gets us to continue doing what we're doing. I mean, it's kind of the best representation we have that you guys are enjoying it. If you're tuning in and sticking around, we at least assume that you're enjoying somewhat of what we're trying to do up here. So again, we appreciate everybody hanging around. If you're not subbed to the channel, please do. Trying to get to 500 subscribers before the PGR 500. I believe that we are about 60 away. I'll see if I can get a giveaway hooked up as well if we can get to that mark before that point. So let your family, your friends, anybody else that you know that might want to either try it out or just likes watching this kind of stuff, to check out PGR Esports on YouTube. And if you're interested, by the way, in that PGR 500 or any other event from PGR, go check out the website. Just look up pgresports.com on Google to find all the information there. All right, it's go time, Matt, and it's going to be 5 laps to go. We've got to make it to the white flag. That's 4 laps that you have to set up the moves. But if we get another caution, then all of a sudden that pushes us into overtime.
This could be a situation where we go all the way tonight. We use every overtime opportunity. Of course, PGR going to give this field every opportunity to get this race in under green flag conditions. However, once you go that far into overtime, we just don't have unlimited. I don't think. We have 3 of them in our back pocket should we need to use them. There goes the pace car, and here we go once again. Toyota on Chevrolet in the front row. Wow, check out that restart there from John Ellis. He's going to jump out in front. That's going to allow Daniel Folkingham to slide into that second place position, up 23 spots from where he started. And look who's in third. Michael Triscaro now in the hunt.
Triscaro in the hunt. This is a big deal for Michael Triscaro. He's got to stay calm, though. I've been in this spot a couple times. You start to get the nerves. It is a PGR race. You know how much money's on the line. You know that you go into the history books of PGR stats if you can get the job done, but you've got to be careful here because if you're Triscaro and you make that move too early, if the help's not there, that could be your only shot at it. So I think if you're Michael Triscaro, stay in line, play your part, stick as the pusher right now, and save that move for an opportunity at the end. But he's got to watch this third lane. It's getting going, and he may have no choice, but now he's stuck in the middle. On the outside, watch for the 60 of Jeff Merck. Brent Billa's going to bail as he goes back down to his teammate. 4 laps to go. Folkingham leads the inside. He's getting pushed by Matt Lee. It's still John Ellis Jr. along with Michael Triscaro in the middle. Jeff Merck trying to make something happen with Evan Carlbon up top.
Evan Carlbon up top. They are trying to get the mojo dialed up on the high side of the racetrack, but it's still John Ellis that carries the torch, leading the bottom lane. Here comes the middle. They get a big-time run dialed up here. Move to the high side. They bump. They touch. How did they save that? That shoulda, woulda, coulda been a nuclear bomb, and we might not have it. I am speechless right now. That was absolutely incredible driving, as that should have been a gigantic bomb going off here at Daytona, as we're still under green flag conditions. Now popsicle sticks go in the air. Just 2 laps remaining here from Daytona.
And this makes things really interesting now because the pack is all split up. That's going to create a lot of runs. The first question is going to be who can get back to these front 6 to 10, and then once they get there, what are they going to do with that momentum? There's going to be a whole bunch of it, but right now it's 3 versus 4 at the front, 3 on the inside. Matt Lee, Daniel Folkingham, and John Ellis Jr. And look at this, going to the point. Michael Triscaro into turn 3 has the lead. Matt Lee trying to fight back on the bottom, and here comes the run from out back. Ethan Eckert, Richard Elliott, and Aubrey Thompson. Where are they going to go when they get here?
Where will they go? They're going to go wherever they can fit that race car in, and hopefully it's to the front of this thing, as we're now at the start-finish line once again, which means just 1 lap remaining here as we go on board with Matt Lee. Austin, 2 laps to go, excuse me. so fired up here in the broadcast booth. Kind of got away from me there, but Matt Lee last night, Austin, I mean, that was a driver that seemed like he had what it took to win the race. However, he got caught up in an incident, and now he's up 29 positions in that Dark Horse Mustang, getting some big-time help there from Falkingham in that 54 machine. And don't forget about Michael Triscaro. He is there in that second-place position. He's probably vibing through the roof right now. If that was me out there on the racetrack, I'd be shaking. My nerves would be trying to just absolutely consume me right now as we are 2x2, side by side, white flag in the air.
Oh, man, here we go. This is where you lay all the chips on the table. Michael Triscaro looking for his first PGR win. He still leads in the middle. Matt Lee's going to go back ahead on the inside up top. Evan Carlbon, he's looking for his first win as well. They'll drag race onto the super stretch for the final time, and right now it is Michael Triscaro who's got the most help, and he's got a teammate behind him. That's the advantage, but he's got to hope they keep it clean. Watch out. Out back, Jeff Merck, can he save it? He can't. He will lose it. Michael Triscaro's going to lose all his help out back. And as they continue to side draft, that's going to allow Falkingham to push Matt Lee clear. Will Falkingham try to make one more move himself here? Final time off of turn 4. Here they come back to the checkered flag. No move on Matt Lee. Now Falkingham looks high. It's not enough. Matt Lee will grab the win at Daytona.
Matt Lee punches his ticket into victory lane on 2 laps of absolute mayhem and chaos on the racetrack. Michael Triscaro, oh so close, but did not have the help at the end, and that brings the momentum back to the bottom side of the racetrack. Matt Lee, Daniel Falkingham, John Ellis, and that's your top 3. Michael Triscaro is going to get himself a top 5 as he comes across the line in 4th, and Tyler Vickery rounding out your top 5. Austin, that was absolutely insane racing here at Daytona. Just what you expect from these guys coming to the checkered flag.
I think this entire race was probably one of my favorite broadcasts that we've had in the last month. I mean, that was just about everything you could ask for. Maybe not the photo finish, and it really all unraveled when Michael Triscaro lost his help. They started wrecking out back, and once Jeff Merck got turned, you knew that that was going to put the outside in the third in an awkward spot. You really just had Carlbon and Triscaro kind of side drafting each other, and that really didn't help any of them. But it's Matt Lee who comes home victorious here tonight in that new Icon Apparel Company paint scheme. And a good way to get it advertised is to burn it down on the front stretch in front of the virtual grandstands. And for Matt Lee, he's been here before. This is not a first time, and this will not be the last time either. Triscaro, he's going to celebrate too. He feels like a win for getting 4th place in a race that really kind of went his way really at the end. And finally, no bad luck for Triscaro himself, but as you said, so close to the win. Not quite able to happen that time. Let's take a look at your finishing results before we go bring in your top 3 for interviews. So again, actually that was from qualifying. Let's go ahead and refresh here to the race. And so this is what it was looking like. Matt Lee, your race winner. Daniel Falkingham brings home the 2nd place finish tonight. Pushed Matt Lee the whole way home. Then it's John Ellis Jr. rounding out the podium. Michael Triscaro in 4th with Tyler Vickery rounding out that last money position. What a great finish for Tyler Vickery here tonight. Zachary Lima finishes 6th. A good spot for him as well in his first race back. I believe he will take a payout for the first driver outside of the money without a PGR win, although I'm not sure. Lima may have a PGR win, but it's Evan Carlbon back in 7th, Nathan Harper in 8th, with Jared Haynes 9th, and James Wagner rounding out your top 10.
11th belongs to Ethan Eckert. Well, that 12th place position goes to Stephen Miles. 13th, Aubrey Thompson. Alex in the 97 machine is going to round out that 14th spot. Well, inside the top 15, Richard Elliott in that 000 machine. 16th belongs to Kenneth McCullough Jr., while Michael Miller comes home 17th. Finishing across the line in 18th, that's Christopher Melton in the 49. 19th, Jimmy Emos, and rounding out your top 20, Jeff Merck.
Moving on back to the 21st position, Garrett Maines, followed by Landon Veliky in 22nd. Then it's Brian Hennings back in 23rd with Steve Korsak in 24th. Nash Brambilla finishes in 25th. Joshua McCullough back in 26th with Kevin Freese 27th. Brock Westermerlin in the 28th spot. And rounding out the top 30 tonight is Joe Herta and Braxton DeWeese.
Steve Sizemore is going to come home 31st, while 32nd belongs to Matthew Patton in that 8 machine. 33rd, Dalton Still, while the 59 of Mark Vondell is going to come home 34th. 35th belongs to Francisco, while in that, it looks like the 32 of Michael. Can you help me with that name, Austin? I do not want to butcher it.
Yeah, Michael Menchaca finishing that 36th spot.
37th belongs to Quentin Steinbuck, while coming home 38th, Freddie Benez, I believe, there. In 39, John Mulhannon rounding out the 40 drivers that took the initial green flag. That's going to be Sean Corbett.
Moving on back to the 40th spot. Again, I apologize here for a little bit of the slow grid. I'm trying to work on a couple things here tonight. But yep, Sean Corbett, last man in the field here tonight, as Matt just noted. And I was looking at some of the things here, kind of setting up on the side. But I guess before we talk anything about that, we're going to go ahead and see if we can bring in your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona International Speedway. All right, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. The fireworks just finishing up on the backstretch. And so with that, let's get right into tonight's top 3. We'll start first with your race winner, Matt Lee. Matt, this is Austin up at the booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha, brother.
Well, you made a recent team adjustment, and I know it may not have necessarily been a ton of team help here tonight, but you still bring home the win. You get the job done with some help from Falkingham at the end. First of all, how does it feel to return to victory lane here at PGR?
Oh, well, this is my first PGR win, so it feels pretty fucking awesome, man. It's been a long time coming.
You wouldn't know it with the way you looked here tonight. A lot of the other races, I thought for sure you had already grabbed one, Lee, but that makes it even all the much more better knowing that it's your first one and how hard you worked for it here tonight. You get the job done at the end, but overall, tell us about kind of how you had to work through the traffic here tonight and keep yourself in position even with some of the cautions there at the end.
Yeah, we just, as a group, me, Mike, and Merck were just committed to being there at the end. I mean, there was no reason to do anything silly early. We're going to get a caution eventually from someone doing something stupid. So, we got there at the end with a breakaway after the pit stop with like 14 of us. And, we positioned ourselves pretty well after that. So, it was just getting forward when we could. I got lined up on the bottom there a couple times, and we just kept rolling forward with it. And it worked out well. Once I got to restart third there, I knew I was in pretty good shape with Daniel in front of me because Ellis in front of me, because I pushed pretty well on the bottom as long as I don't screw someone up off 4. So, I just had to keep that in mind. And once I got to the lead, man, I was just committed to holding the bottom.
That commitment pays off big time here tonight. Well, now that you got that first PGR win out of the way, you're going to go into the history books of PGR stats. So before we let you head out tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just big shout out to Baker and Mike there. Mike, they both ran a hell of a race. That was fun. You guys for doing the broadcast. That's about it.
And Matt, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the race win, first of many, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
For sure. Thanks, brother.
All right, now that'll bring us to your second place finisher, Coke Series driver Daniel Falkingham. Matt Mettler stands by with him.
Daniel Falkingham, Matt up top in the booth. You got a copy there, boss?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, hey, man, every time I watch you out here on the racetrack, you dial up the excitometer. You are absolutely prime time out there and fun to watch. I mean, you started this race in the next county over. I mean, this was not an easy, a cut blank easy way for you victory lane. Like, you had to get up on that steering wheel. You had to work for it. Walk me through this race tonight. How are you able to come home with such a strong second place finish here this evening?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out as well. I mean, I always love to put on a show in these races. I love to put on a show when I'm up at the front, but we had to work for it tonight because we got wrecked in the first caution, but we were very thankful to not get hit by anybody. We only suffered minimal damage where we could get it all fixed and get back out there. And then we had some pretty exciting pit stops, so I almost wrecked coming on the green flag pit stop, so that was interesting. And then we got ourselves in the mix. Then I think we got ourselves a little bit of damage, too, from when Garrett got spun out, so I was worried about that, if that was going to slow my speed. But, yeah, we put the moves there on old John there on the restart to get us in the perfect position, in which it worked. But when, I don't know what happened with, 3 to go or whatever it was, that got the field separated. That allowed Matt to have an open lane to get around me, unfortunately. But Yeah, it was crazy, and we had to avoid. I think it was Mert getting wrecked on the last lap too, but it put ourselves right in a perfect position. But I tried all I could through 3 and 4 to make a move, but like my momentum was it was just dead. Like I tried to back up to Ellis to give so his like momentum could push me up to him, but like I would just stall. Like I just stalled really bad, and I don't know if that was just my damage or what, but no, I tried everything on that last lap once I got clear of Giscaro, but just wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. But hey, because we were in probably about like 2 wrecks, almost 3 of them. It was a messy night, but we still came away with some good money, so we will take it. And I want to congratulate Matt on his first win. Dude, me and him have been working pretty good in these races the last few months, and good to see him get a win. We got 1-2. 1-2 for all us Mainers.
Hey, you cannot complain about a 1-2 finish here, like you said, at Daytona at the Big House. Congratulations on such a strong run and performance here this evening. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, each time Daniel Falkingham straps himself into the race car, he is absolute money out there. Mr. Excitement each and every time he takes to the track here at Daytona. Before I cut you loose, who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 6th?
Yeah, I just got to thank Giscaro and everyone who runs the show over here. I got to thank Kenny Brio, who brought me over here, got me into this stuff. Got to thank the boys at Nightmare who was in here, but we had Zach Lima, Steven Miles, and we had Landon as well. We didn't have Cody tonight because he was on serving a suspension, but we saw a good group of guys to work with tonight, and they got me in a good spot tonight, so thankful to work with them every race. Thanks to you guys broadcasting. Thanks to everyone who comes out to races every week to put these races on. And yeah, thanks to everyone who watched tonight, and looking forward to next week.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Coke Series driver goes absolutely fantastic finish out there on the racetrack. Comes home with a second place P2 result tonight, taking you on a high octane thrill ride over the course of 60 laps this evening. Sending it back topside to you, Austin.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And that'll now bring us to your third place finisher here on the night, the final man on the podium, and that is John Ellis Jr. John, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you. How's it going?
Good. Well, we don't get to see you as much as we used to, but man, it feels like every time we do see you, you still find a way to get in the payout positions. You finished third here tonight, a good podium spot. And what was going through your head on that last lap? We saw a lot of jockeying for position. Did you think you were going to end up in the spot you finish?
I was happy to claw my way back to third there, to be honest with you. That restart, I got a big shot from Matt and just kind of shot me out there a little too far. I knew I was in trouble. Tried to hold up Daniel a little bit, but wasn't going to block him too hard, so I gave him the bottom there. Had Triscaro coming to me. Thought we were going to be in a pretty good spot, to be honest with you, being in that middle lane with some help, but Triscaro made a move, pulled out, tried to go 3, and it kind of just stalled us, and I knew it was trouble. It was over from there, so I was happy to get back up there and get a third place finish for sure. I mean, we pretty much dominated that whole race. We were out front the whole time, Garrett and I. Kevin before he got wrecked too. I mean, I was telling Falkingham before the interview that might have been the most boring race I've ever been in PGR, which is a good thing. I think the lowest I ever ran that entire race was probably about 4th or 5th, so I'll take that. But
And kind of from your perspective, I know you said the race was kind of boring with you guys controlling the race as much as you were. The Xfinity car, we know it's a lot different from some of the other series, especially with the kind of, we call it a new update. I know it's been a little while now, but with the way you have to push in these cars now. So how important is it to work with teammates in this car versus, say, if we were in the next gens, the car that we're going to see for like the PGR 500?
it's very important. You got to trust who's pushing you and who you're pushing, because it can get out of shape real quick. This was actually my first super speedway race since they updated the car, so I was kind of learning on the fly. I had Garrett and Kevin kind of helping me out, telling me what I can and can't do, and I feel like I picked it up pretty quick. Thought I had a good connection with Garrett. I was able to push him and not wobble him too much, so it was fun, man. But you got to be calculated. You can't hit him too hard, and if you do, it can be trouble real quick. It makes it interesting. They're a lot of fun to drive for sure, but it's tough to pass now.
That certainly is, but either way, you find a way to get it done here tonight. So before we let you head out to go celebrate the third place finish, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just thanks to Garrett for helping me all night. Kevin as well. It sucks that they both got taken out there. Want to thank you guys as always for putting on the broadcast. It's always good to listen to them after the race. Triscaro for hosting. This has been by far the best money racing series out there for the last couple of years now, and I know I say this every time, but I'm hoping to get back in here a little more often now, so we'll see. And then shout out to Baker as well too for race controlling.
John, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on that third place finish once again, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, with that, before we wrap things up, I mean, what a thriller that one was, Matt. We've had the chance to commentate quite a few of these, but that one was something that we've been waiting to see for a while. Clean racing for majority of the race, gets a little chaotic at the end, but that's what we see in real life super speedway racing. And to finish it off, they have a clean finish up front where we see Matt Lee find his first victory. I mean, that one checked all the boxes for me. I had a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, Austin. Everything that you want and expect in a super speedway showdown under the lights at Daytona. And at the end of this thing, a good World War II style grudge match at the front. Some hard, clean racing. Matt Lee obviously gets it done. He punches his ticket into victory lane. And tonight, just from the drop of the green flag, you can feel the energy. This one was primed to be a great one, and it absolutely was. And also got to thank everyone for joining us on board tonight, showing the love to these drivers and lighting up that youtube.com live chat. Got to shout out everyone that joined us here tonight as well.
Yeah, a big crowd. That certainly helped our energy out. We appreciate it. Hope to see everybody back next week for more of the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series. All right, that's it for us here tonight. I'm Austin Green alongside Matt Mettler. Thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, have a good night.